усаживался, как сейчас синий человечек. И для меня это было то, что я называл минуты славы. Минуты славы, потому что толпы туристов.
Hello, so sorry it's so dark, but it kind of fits with today's video, which is a semi-spoopy book haul. So that's fun. I was thinking about how to organize this. I think I'm going to do it kind of by theme of book. Yeah, basically I kind of went on a weird like book binge the other day and yeah, bought a couple books. Ooh. And then I realized that actually some books that I purchased previously in a more demure, gentle, feminine way of only buying like one book at a time. I had also like the several books I had bought previously were also kind of ooky spooky, slightly, maybe a little bit in my opinion. And so yeah, I thought I would talk about all those books that I bought. It's gonna be a weird order because I didn't want to do it like all the books I got together. I'd rather do it kind of in the themes. So like the later books will be the most spookiest, but before that we'll kind of go light on the spook factor. And let's start with the book that I've actually already finished since buying it like maybe like a week and a half ago, and that is Wound by Oksana Vasyakina. And this is a book by a lesbian Russian writer, and it is semi-memoir novel in the sense that like what the main character in this has gone through is very similar to what Vasyakina has gone through, and that is losing your mother to breast cancer. And the story itself is described as a modern As I Lay Dying, where we see Vasyakina taking her mother's ashes to Ust-Ilimsk in Siberia, and kind of her having to hold and carry and reflect on her mother when she was younger, her mother as she got older, her mother's relationships, the withholdingness in their relationship, and also her relationship with her own body, her sexuality, her relationship to herself being a writer. And so it's a really deeply personal tale, and the backdrop of this tale is this journey to laying her mother to rest. And I think it's incredibly personal. Why I sort of consider including this in this particular book haul is because it talks quite a lot about the death and the dead and their bodies and the way that like illness takes our body. And to me there's something about it that it has this element of horror, which is I don't want to say the grotesque, because that's very rude to people who've like undergone illness, but this changing in body, right? Like I think that that's such a big theme in horror, is transformation in some way or another, differentiation between people based on bodily experiences. And where I think horror takes that and it excites and it titillates, this book and books like it take that and they add this emotional level to it. So I think that Wound has these body horror elements, but with the emotionalness that makes them so deeply personal. There's also a grayness, a gray tone to this book, which I think is befitting the October season. I know it's a month, but it's a season, right? Like October is its own thing. So yes, not only do I highly recommend this book just all year round, I think there is something very creepy autumnal about it. Moving on, next, my mother got this for me when she was in Copenhagen because she's awesome. And this is Nipponia Nippon by Kazushige Abe. And this is about a young boy who has this obsession with this bird, the Nipponia Nippon, also known as the Japanese crested ibis. And he is so obsessed with this bird that he decides he's gonna like free some of them that are in these cages, and he researches violent ways to get that done. So I think that this has kind of a, I don't want to say it because I feel like people on YouTube never say stuff like this. They always like code it somehow, but kind of a Columbine, if you get what I mean, feeling to it, in the sense of like very real world event, someone being radicalized, someone taking out the oppressive and repressive sensation of existing in a society and finding this like thing to pin it to and then enacting that violence. So I feel like there's a lot of realism in here that to me reads as horror. Next up, there's gonna be a lot of like Japanese authors here. Kind of, I didn't do that intentionally, it just kind of happened, but I'm never mad at that. So the next two are more mystery thriller. First one I'll talk about is another installment of the Kosuke Kindaichi series that Pushkin Vertigo is doing. So this is by Seishi Yokomizo, and it's The Devil's Flute Murders. If you don't know, this author was like a Arthur Conan Doyle of Japan, Agatha Christie of Japan, and he wrote this like detective series. And a few years ago, the only ones that have been translated to English were the Honjin Murders and the Inugami Curse. And then I guess Pushkin Vertigo republished those and started contracting someone to translate other versions. So now they're finally releasing these other versions in English. And have been reading them along, and yes, I have been thoroughly enjoying them. They're very good. I also got another Ryu Murakami. I got Audition. I read In the Miso Soup, I think, yeah, last year, and I heavily enjoyed that. And I'm actually already started reading this one pre-October. And this is about a man who loses his wife, and he decides to audition replacements, and one of them is not as innocent as she initially appears, which we love. We love a creepy lady. And yes, it's very short, which I feel like is oftentimes like perfect for horror. Like, I don't know, maybe I've not read a lot of like true horror, so I feel like it just, you know, hit him in one punch, you know, really get the story moving and get it over with quickly. But yeah, so it kind of seems like it'll be like a quick, engaging read that you can kind of like slurp up in one go. After that, I'll do sort of my miscellaneous, and that is The End of August by Miri. She wrote Tokyo Ueno Station, and so Tokyo Ueno Station also involves a ghost, so that's why I think like this will definitely probably be like the least spooky of all of them, the least creepy in any way. But this is historical fiction, and it does feature ghosts. This woman is like running a marathon, and so she summons the ghost of her grandfather, who was like could have competed in the Olympics, but he is Korean and he would have to do so under the Japanese flag, so I guess he refuses to do so. And so her family, like her ancestors are Korean, and she goes to someone who ends up summoning the ghosts of like 3 people, 2 of whom are like directly related to her, and one of them is their neighbor who was forced to be a comfort woman to Japanese soldiers. And this is like a story of like family, politics, all of that. It sounds like it's very dark, beautiful, and reckoning with the past of, you know, Japan during and probably like during the war, right? I feel like this is gonna be very interesting because I know that Japan is not really keen on talking about their actions during during their like occupation of Korea and China. They're not really keen on reckoning with that. So very interested to see what this, you know, Japanese author, I'm not sure if she herself has Korean roots. Very interesting to see what she has to say about that. I also think it'll be interesting because I hate the word interesting, like it obvious, like I don't know, certain topics, like it's not that they're interesting, it's that they're dark and dramatic and true and like intense. I think it'll be tense to read because I recently read The Aquariums of Pyongyang, and that is about a like Korean boy and his experience in one of the camps in North Korea, but his family had been in Japan, and then they went back to Korea afterwards, to North Korea, because A, ethnically Korean, B, like one of their family members was communist. But I think there's like the context that story didn't necessarily contain of like, what was it like to be Korean and be in Japan? I could understand why someone would be like, no, I would like to very much go back to a place where I'm not with these people. So I'm interested to see, you know, how this, like what this book describes as the experience, which again, I'm not like interested in like a happy way, but interested in a, I think this will be informative way. And then I have 3 more books, but one of them is also an honorable mention in some ways. So this book, I didn't buy this particular copy recently. I bought this copy like 2 years ago, and I read it 2 years ago, but I have a friend who's going to Spain, and so for like a farewell gift, I got her this book because I figured it'd be good. Like, it's gonna be, you know, the fall, and she's Argentinian. This is an Argentinian author, and it's like good in short stories, which I feel like is kind of the best bet if you're getting someone a book. But yes, I just also wanted to recommend it here. I did technically buy it. It's not, seriously, should not be considered this book haul. The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Mariana Enriquez. It's like great, perfect short story horror book. Highly recommend. And now to the last few books, the final stretch truly. Firstly, I have Revenge 11 Dark Tales by Yoko Ogawa. I read Diving Pool, which is like creepy, but like it does that sort of Japanese creepiness that often exists, where it's like, it's something that's weird, but not necessarily horror. And I feel like just even the cover of this looks a lot more gritty and dirty and grimy and violent. And so very excited about that. And also, again, not only the story short, but the book itself is also quite short. So very excited. I also picked up Ring by Koji, Suzuki, and obviously, like, this is the book that the Ring horror movie is based on. I never watched the movie, so I figure I might as well read the book first and then watch the movies. But yeah, what a fun cover too. It smells very clean. And not like a mustiness, which I sometimes associate with books. And lastly, I saw, what's her name, like Anta Chris. She seems to read a lot of horror. I watched like some like extreme horror book reviews, and I'm like really got the need to like want to read one of those books. I feel like I used to like watch and read and be into like really horror, scary stuff, and I kind of like haven't gotten into that, so I don't know if I can really handle it anymore. But I picked up Maeve Fly by CJ Leeds. This was apparently like not so extreme horror, but she said it was kind of like the one that she preferred out of all of the books, and I mean, how can you not love that cover? And this is essentially about, like, it's very clear it's an Elsa impersonator working at Disneyland, and like she has a relationship with this guy, and she becomes like violent and gory and like a serial killer. Yeah, it even says an apocalyptic Anaheim psycho, and yeah, it seems like so creepy and great for the Halloween season. So I'm so excited to read that. Well, that is the end of this book haul. I certainly won't get through all of these unless, again, like I start reading them now and I'm like done with them before Halloween. I certainly won't get through all of these. I also have like so many other books that I could include for like a Halloween haul. Like even right here, I've set aside The Only Good Indians, which would definitely be a great Halloween read. What else do I have here? I have Cursed Bunny. That would be good. I have Japanese ghost stories. Yeah, I've got a lot of creepy stuff I could read, but I'm very excited. I've just been itching for some like visceral reads, and I feel like I found them, and I will keep you updated and posted on how they go. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye now.